Thank you to both of you for the invitation. Thank you also, of course, to the French Institute for facilitating this connection. So as you guys said, we're here for a few days to organize this workshop about organic materials. And so as Agla mentioned, our approach is very based on this idea. I don't know if you guys read the book Cradle to Cradle, but so our approach involves mixing two types of materials. So biosphere materials, which are biodegradable, and also technosphere materials, which can be reused or recycled throughout industrial processes. So we've known each other for 15 years. We were students together, we were in school together, we did our diploma together. So we've been together for a very long time. We've been the two of us as founders and partners for 5 years before the studio had different typology. So we're going to present four projects with very different context, different clients, different users, but all of them share the same philosophy that architecture can always adapt to the challenges of its time and generates new forms and style. So we jumped straight into the first project.
Hello. So this is, like David said, this is our first public project. It's an educational pavilion for public school in Paris, designed to welcome parents, children, and teachers. But before, I will share a story with you, because the story begins before we started working on the project. The school's teaching staff told us that they had difficulties inviting parents into the school grounds. Some parents feel distrustful of the educational institution. And at the same time in Paris, the Paris City Hall launched a program called Oasis to replant the courtyards of Parisian schools. The goal is to fight the global warming. Our school benefited from the Oasis program with the installation of vegetable garden or picnic area. And to everyone's surprise, the parents of the students show a great interest in using these planted spaces. This is because they often live in a small social housing on the left, without balconies and gardens. The client saw in this context an opportunity to create a connection between the school and the neighborhood. This is why they proposed an architectural project to welcome parents into schools. So on these pictures, this is our site. And the triangle site that you see in the white. This is in the back of the school, in the technical area, with access for deliveries and technical rooms. And all around, you find the planted area. I would like to share, to talk about our method to produce architecture. This is our method we use to produce our projects. It's like Darwin theory. We generate as many options as possible, and based on the parameters and contrasts, we eliminate the options that we don't work. Then we add even more constraints to eliminate once again a few more options. And in the end, only one remains, the one that has survived all the constraints. All the topics are the same for the roof, for instance. We do a lot of models for work with our clients, a lot of material prototypes. This guy, it's to explain more about the historic context in France. This man named Jules Ferry is very well known. He was a minister during the 19th century. And thanks to him, school is now mandatory. Since then, schools have all looked the same. The classroom is rectangular, with a large window on the left so as not to overshadow on the right-hand people. There is a large corridor and a large courtyard. And today, schools in France are all the same. This is why we decided to imagine a round classroom. We are questioning the relationship between the pedagogy, between the geometry and the knowledge transmission. In the round shape, this is no first and last row. The circle is the natural shape for forming a group of individuals. Now this is the main planes. Actually, there is just one, because it's a little project, a little pavilion. And as you can see, there is a circle plan. It is a multi-purpose pavilion. So a lot of storage is needed. We organize a technical belt with all the necessary facilities. Toilets is here. Toilets. Storage here. Kitchen. Sink. And technical rooms. As you can see, the center of the building does not match to the center to the classroom. The depth requirements for the storage and the toilets are not the same. This way, we offer a multiple uses on the periphery. As you can see, there is several layers. The first is a terracotta wall to provide spatial separation and thermal inertia. The second layer is related to uses like storage, and finally, the insulation and the Amherst wall. On the outside now, with the round classroom, the pavilion's shape also has to be round. With the round pavilion, there is no primary and secondary facade. The entire facade is primary. As you can see, the building is composed on successive layers. First, the concrete foundation, then a 30 centimeters base, the Amherst wall, here and here, and finally the wooden frame to support the roof. There is 6 walls and 6 windows, doors. The rammed earth walls must be constructed in summer or spring. The drying space process took a month, during which we left the site. Rammed earth does not like the water. For this reason, it needs to be elevated by 30 centimeters and protected by the hanging roof. Its thickness is 45 centimeters. We use these materials for mechanical properties and to imagine a new way of building.
So we are here in a completely different context. We are here in the center of Paris for a big refurbishment project, which is the Chamber of Notaries. So this was a building that was part of a very important exhibition in Paris about transformation, because now it's definitely the way to go. You reduce by 15 times the amount of CO2 that you create by renovating. I mean, you reduce by 15 times the amount of CO2 that you create when you're doing renovation compared to construction. So we are here in the Place du Châtelet. So it's like the center of the center of the center of Paris. Between the two big theaters, you have the city hall just here. So it's a building that all the Parisians pass by, and of course all the historical and preservative people from the city are also looking and annoying us. So that it was built during the during the mid 19th century, before the two big theaters. It's actually one of the first steel building in Paris. The former architect used to travel a lot in the UK to see how the steel construction was going on. You can see Pompidou on the back of the picture. And so the way the building was built, sorry for the pixelation of the images, but when the building was built, it had three components. So you had administrations, you had some retails on the ground floor to finance the company, and you also had a part of reception, of public receptions. And when the competition was launched, the building was actually mainly administration, so mainly offices, and what was left about public reception. And so the idea of our project was to actually reinverse the logic of the building by condensing the administration part to make it to make more room for public receptions. So the building is actually we worked a lot on the plans to understand the logic of the building, and what was done in that time is that you always had part of the building that was about public reception, and the rest that was more like a machine, something to make everything work for the public receptions. And what we did to win the competition is that we created new floor plans, like new floors in the back of the building in order to make room for public reception on the ground floor, which is connected to the public space. We found these pictures from 1906, I think, where we had a very intense relation from the building to its context that was completely lost. And so the idea is to how can a building contribute to the public space. So the first action is actually to remove all the bottom part of the windows that was made out of stones in order to have more visual connection to the surrounding. That's our project on the ground floor. And so that was the initial plans. And so that was the before and after of our project. So you see the ground floor was very, very messy, with like small rooms on the ground floor with people working on the ground floor, which is always a weird situation in our opinion. And so we somehow condense everything in the center in order to have like 4 big programs on the ground floor, so a bigger hall. Some conferences that could be done on the right side of the plan, and on the left side a restaurant, and then in the back some kind of free office space for notaries. So that was the interior all as we found it, and we wanted to make as big as possible. So we removed basically all the stone walls from the hall in order to have like a 3 facade hall. And some people are going to say, okay, what you going to do with all that stones? And so we actually managed to reuse all the stones that were deconstructed on site. So we worked with a designer called Anna Saint-Pierre on this topic. We really like to work with designers also, because I think they're sharing the same vision as us, and they have the same question about our future. And so very neatly we somehow removed all of the stone decorative elements, and we did some kind of a carpaccio of all these stones in order to create new pavement on all the ground floor of the project. And the nice thing about this decorative molding of the facade is that it allows you to create some patterns that we would have never done without this configuration. So this is the stones we removed from the facade. Here you can see the contour of those elements that creates the patterns on the floor. And on the right you can see also we also try to use as many waste of the building as we can. So on the right you see also with some puzzolan, which is a volcanic stone that were in the building that we had to remove, and also some other waste of the building that to create some terrazzo. We had those also very decorated rooms, and when you work on this type of project with very decorative interiors, but you also have stones on the outside, is how and where do you put your insulation? Because of course it's not insulated. And so we work with our environment consultant to find a solution that could work and make the building more performative. And so we thought that maybe we can just dig into the past and see how they used to insulate their building. And so we thought that, okay, maybe we can use actually curtains to insulate our building. So what we thought is that, so we will use two types of curtains, a heavy one and a light one. The heavy one will be in front of the walls during the winter in order to avoid to not have the heat leaving the room. And during the summer, you have a light one that will go in front of the windows in order to avoid sunlighting in the room. And that was, we didn't invent it. We just look at what was done in the past, and in the castles and this type of building, you always found some carpet on the wall and stuff like that, just to make it nice, but also to insulate your room. But we can also do it in a contemporary way. So it's like, how do you pick in the past elements that you can appropriate yourself in order to make the building more performative? And on the back of the building, that's where we will do these brand new offices with contemporary conditions. So that's how it used to look. So it was just like a very basic plaster facade. And so that was the configuration that we found on the left side. So as you can see, everything is like super messy, with like a lot of small rooms with small windows. So you have like terrible lighting conditions for working. And so we tried to rationalize the back of the building, and you also had this funny situation here where you had like windows for feet. And so we somehow removed the floor here in order to have like very nice windows and mezzanine. So that's what their offices looks like. So this is the difference of lighting situation. And this is our proposal. And this is a curtain wall that looks like a curtain. And this is also like a symbol of the way the notaries dress with this like big robe. So we also like this idea of connecting with our client. And they're interesting, so this is how it looks like, so almost as close as possible to the rendering. And what was interesting with this curtain wall is, of course, to make something that looks interesting, but also it was interesting because it could allow us to not have any mullions on the vertical side, because everything is attached on top and at the bottom, and so because it's stable itself because of the curve. And so we are just treating to just avoid to not let water go inside the glass wall. So everything has to be extremely precise. Everything is done with like also metal, because we wanted to work with metal because it somehow made sense with the history of the building. We couldn't, I mean, it would have made sense in terms of carbon footprint, but in terms of history with the relation with the building, we really wanted to continue this steel and metal structure. Also very, very different situation here. We are in the suburbs of Paris. This is for social housing. So this is our building in the middle, in front of a big urban block. And this building used to be an office building, and it has been turned into housing 25 years ago. It has been bought by the social housing company, and it has been turned into housing. And we intervene in the third phase of making the building more performative, and also trying to make it look more like a housing and less like an office. There was a big issue with the performance of the building because it was the same temperature inside that outside. It's basically the same type of project as the project of L'Atelier et Vassal in Bordeaux, but with 3 times less money. So we had to be very smart on the way to use that money because we didn't have that much. So we just repaired what was not working. We didn't, because in this type of project, all the architects are doing, they are putting like the whole puff down coat on their building. But so we just intervene where the curtain wall was, in order to be performant where we intervene. So it's more about this idea of repairing than transforming. We are very attached to this idea of repairing, and not, like the big gesture of the star architect, just to intervene very precisely where the building needs to be repaired. So we also had to intervene where people were living, so we had to be very careful on the way we were doing this project. So that's why we have these big windows, because the big window is corresponding to one apartment, so we could make sure that we could have everything dry in a day. And so it's also like, what type of document can help the architect to doing the conception of this building. And so for this project, we were really interested into this in this section. So we had one thickness that we can work on, and so we were interested in adding a lot of uses with just one surface. So we added shading because we were south facing. We also added some concrete blocks in order to add inertia in the apartment. We also add a little bit of room to put like books and stuff like that. So it's like how with just one surface you can create multiple uses. What is also very interesting with the transformation of offices into housing is that you can now have 3 meters high apartment, which in France is very rare, unless you live in a very rich neighborhood. But because like all the new apartments are like 2.5 meters high. So this is also an opportunity for us to do housing in a different way, to live in different type of apartment, and to not live in this standard life. And still with this question of repairing of technosphere elements, we were interested in using like very, very basic and cheap elements. So those are stuff that you usually use for ventilations. And so it's also something that, for instance, people usually use plaster, but plaster when you work when the building is occupied is very complicated to make, but it's also very complicated to repair. And with this type of material, it's very easy to fix, to unfix, to repair, and also in 30, 50, 100 years, when the building won't be good anymore, we could just like deassemble the facade and put everything and reuse and recycle everything. So the last project, which is basically the synthesis of the bunch of our projects. So it's like really the combination of this idea of using biosphere elements and technosphere elements, because as I said, like if you use biosphere elements such as wood, stones, earth, you can just basically put them back to nature without doing any damages. And if you use technospheres elements, you can either you source elements that are already recycled, but you can also upcycle them throughout industrial processes. And the Grand Palais, I don't know if you know this project. It's one of the biggest monuments in Paris, with like Eiffel Tower and Arc de Triomphe and all this type of buildings. And so every 15, 20, 30 years, the building is completely redone. So we say to our client, it was a competition, we say to the client, okay, it's not so much about what we're going to do now, it's mainly about what type of waste we want to have in 30 years. So this is the type of spaces that we have to intervene, to create new interior layout, new furnitures, new signage. And this building, the the space, they are enormous, they are monumental. So we thought that it would be interesting to play with these two scales, the big scale that helps you to find your way, but also the small scale to have attention to the users at every time. And so we were interested in using biosphere, technosphere materials, also because they were present on site. So like on the left, you can see the steel structure, and on the right, you can see some ornamental floor that are made out of mosaics, which are made out of clay. So we thought that it would be interesting to mix those two elements in order to make something that would be ecological, but also that would make sense in this building. And those two elements and those two materials, they are sharing the same technique, which is extrusion. You can see a small diagram here. And the extrusion, the amazing thing about extrusion is that you use the exact amount of material that you need to do the things you want to do. So here you can see some of the prototypes. We're under construction now. So you can see some of the prototypes that we are using in the project. So this is how extrusion looks like. It's basically like a churros. So you just put some materials in the machine, and then with constraints, it's sewed out in the shape you want. Oops. And the nice thing about this is that you can. So we are working with a designer and signage. And we can share the same techniques in order to have to create the same identity for the entire building. So it's like 70,000 square meters to animate. And we were also interested in creating a chair that could live like the ones we have in some of the Parisian parks. And the nice thing is that at the end of the day, you see what was the uses in the garden during the day. And so this building is so big that it's very hard to feel comfortable in this building. And with the use of this chair that you can move around in the building, it helps people to appropriate the building. So this is how the chair looks like. It's 100% aluminum recycled, and it somehow does some echoes with the. You will see later some of the ceiling of the building. So I'm going to make you a little tour of the museums. So first we're going to start with the entrance, because this is on the left. You see how you used to get in the building. This is now how you get into the building with the security checkpoint. So for instance, Gary didn't have the chance to design its own gate. There is a very particular, very organic also kind of style and language in the building, in its entrances. And so we thought that it could be interesting to somehow do something that was more connected to the vegetation than to the building. So we created this kind of a weird experience in order to get into the building. Then you go to the ticket space, which are made out of extruded circular shapes on top of each other. So that somehow it's also like a new way to create walls without using plaster, and also the tectonic of this wall supports itself. So this was the small turtles that you guys saw here, and then the ticket office was here, and then you enter throughout this like huge common spaces that are for both. So this is the Grand Palais, which is an art museum, and here you have the Palais de la Découverte, which is a science museum. So we are basically working on the interface between two museums, two different publics, two different type of people also interested in different things, and how can they live together. And we thought that this ecological approach could benefit to both institutions. And so, as I said, you have some big elements here, and then some small ones. So it's always this combination of creating new type of walls using extrusion to create new type of furnitures. So for instance, and you always using the material for its tectonic existence. So this is some boutique. And so everything could be assembled, disassembled in a so everything pretty much works with gravity. So it's just a stack of elements that works together. So when they will be done with this project, they can just like separate things, put them in different garbages. This is also a kind of a curtain that we worked with Petra Bless, the Dutch designers, that are made out of terracotta. So this was also like one of the main boutique. So everything, as you can see here, is like extruded with a small hole to make to attach the small aluminum plates in order to create some kind of niche to present objects. Some lockers. Also, everything is made out of terracotta, even the handles here, even the ventilation grid is also made out of terracotta. The auditorium and mediation rooms that are now under constructions. So we somehow managed to create all type of uses in this space. So everything is also made out of terracotta brick, supported by aluminium elements. And we also designed some kind of terracotta lamps also. This one is a more earthy ones with some earth panels that with the same color as the nef of the Grand Palais. And we welcome you all in 2025. Thank you.